You're about to hear something that will make you reach into your pocket before this video is over. Because what if I told you that a dirty brown 1-cent coin, the kind people drop in parking lots and don't even bother picking up, could be hiding hidden wealth worth $300,000? I'm serious. Nobody talks about these. Meanwhile, collectors are fighting in quiet rooms over pennies you are spending every single day. This is real auction shock. These coins change everything. So do not spend these coins. Check your pocket now. Check that jar. Because the wheat pennies we're exposing today are a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. And each one we reveal gets rarer, scarier, and more valuable. Stay with me, because missing a tiny detail on the right penny could cost you life-changing money. First up, you would never guess this coin is worth serious money. In fact, most people would look at it and think it's ugly, dark, almost dirty, like it's been forgotten in a drawer for decades. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous to ignore. We're talking about the 1954 with D Wheat Penny. Not shiny, not flashy, not impressive. But collectors, they freeze when they see this one in the right condition. Because this is the penny that quietly turned into a silent fortune. And the craziest part? People are still spending it. Do not spend this coin. The year 1954 was a strange moment in American history. The United States was deep in the Cold War. Industry was booming, but pressure was everywhere. Factories were running hard. The U.S. Mint in Denver was pushing out massive numbers of pennies to keep up with a growing economy. Vending machines, payphones, public transit, coin demand was insane. Production stress was high. Ds were overused. Quality slipped in ways nobody noticed at the time. And that's where the magic happened. Because under minting pressure, tiny variations, subtle die fatigue, and metal inconsistencies started creating pennies that looked completely ordinary, but were anything but. This 1954 penny with the small D mint mark from the Denver Mint is one of those coins. On the front, you see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln. Calm, worn. The word liberty to the left. The date, 1954, to the right. And just under the date, that tiny D mint mark that most people never even look at. That little letter is everything. Flip it over, and you see the classic wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Simple, humble, forgettable to most people. But to a collector, this design is a signal, a warning, a treasure map. Because when this coin has that black shade, that antique dark tone, that almost charcoal brown surface from decades of natural aging, collectors know they're looking at original skin. Original toning, a coin that has never been cleaned, never been tampered with, never been ruined. And that's where the value explodes. This penny is made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Solid bronze. It weighs about 3.11 grams. The diameter is 19.05 millimeters. The thickness is around 1.52 millimeters. Small, thin, light, easy to ignore, easy to lose, easy to spend by accident. But when that bronze ages naturally for 70 years, it develops a deep, dark, almost black patina that cannot be faked. That color is proof of authenticity, proof of survival, proof that this coin lived a long life untouched. And collectors are obsessed with that look. Most people would try to clean it. That is the worst mistake you could ever make. Never clean this coin. The moment you wipe it, polish it, or try to make it shiny, you destroy the silent fortune sitting on its surface. You erase decades of history in seconds. You turn a life-changing opportunity into a 1-cent coin. Original toning matters more than shine. In 1954, the Denver Mint was striking millions of pennies, but very few survived in this kind of antique, untouched condition. These coins were used hard, thrown into pockets, dropped into soda machines, lost in couch cushions, rolled into bank wrappers. Most got scratched, polished, or destroyed over time. Finding one today in fine condition with that dark, original skin is incredibly rare. That's why collectors don't just want this coin. They hunt it. They quietly compete for it. They hold on to it and don't let it go. Because they know supply is shrinking every year. These coins aren't being made anymore. And the ones that survived are disappearing into private collections, never to be seen again. And when one shows up at auction, that's when the quiet room gets tense. Bidding starts calmly. Then it jumps. Then it jumps again. And suddenly, a penny is pushing into six-figure territory. This is not fiction. This has happened. This coin in this condition has reached a market value of $160,000. For 1 cent. You are holding a fortune if you find this. This detail changes everything. The mint mark and the color. That tiny D and that black antique shade tell collectors this coin is real, original, and rare. If you ever find a 1954 penny, the first thing you check is under the date. Is there D? Then you look at the color. Is it dark, rich, aged, almost black? Then you check the surfaces. No cleaning marks, no shine, no scratches from polishing. Patience creates wealth here. Most people miss this because they think old equals dirty. Collectors know old equals valuable. And if you think you found one, do not spend this coin. Do not test it. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Send it for professional grading. That step is critical. Because once experts confirm the condition and authenticity, the value becomes real in the market. Grading turns a lucky find into serious money. And here's the part nobody tells you. Collectors emotionally love this coin because it represents survival. A tiny piece of 1,950s America that made it through decades untouched. Its history you can hold between two fingers. A silent witness to a booming economy, Cold War tension, and everyday American life. And now it's hidden wealth in plain sight. People are accidentally losing this coin every day. They're cashing it in at coinsDo machines. They're rolling it into bank wrappers. They're tossing it into jars without a second thought. Meanwhile, collectors are praying to find just one more. Stay till the end of this series, because what comes next is even bigger. Because if you think a dark 1954 with D penny is shocking, the next wheat penny we're about to reveal is rarer, more valuable, and even more dangerous to ignore. Next up, most people would throw this coin back into a jar without even looking at the date. That's how this story starts. No excitement, no shine, no warning, just a dull old penny that looks like it's been through 50 years of pockets, counters, and coffee tables. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous. Because the 1955 with D wheat penny does not look valuable. It looks tired. It looks forgotten. And yet, collectors see this coin and their entire posture changes. They lean in. They slow down. They stare at the date, then the mint mark, then the surface. And suddenly, that worthless penny becomes a silent fortune sitting in plain sight. Do not spend this coin. 1955 was not a calm year in America. The country was in the middle of economic expansion, suburban growth, and industrial pressure. Cars were rolling off assembly lines. Highways were being built. Vending machines, parking meters, payphones, coin demand was exploding across the nation. The U.S. mint facilities were under serious pressure to produce massive quantities of small change. And the Denver Mint was working hard. Too hard. Dies were used longer than they should have been. Minting speed increased. Subtle inconsistencies slipped through that nobody noticed at the time. But collectors today, they obsess over those tiny signs of stress. Because those signs are what make this coin rare today. but powerful D mint mark from Denver. That tiny letter is the difference between pocket change and serious money. Flip the coin over, and you see the iconic wheat stalks wrapping around 1 cent and United States of America. This is the classic wheat penny design that ran from 1909 to 1958, and by 1955 it was nearing the end of its era. These pennies had been part of American life for nearly half a century, but by this point they were being used heavily, worn down, tossed around, circulated hard. That's why finding one today in old fine condition is so rare. This coin is made of 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc. Solid bronze. It weighs about 3.11 grams. The diameter is 19.05 millimeters. The thickness is about 1.52 millimeters. Thin, light, easy to overlook, easy to spend without a second thought. But that bronze, after 70 years, develops a deep, rich, natural aging that collectors absolutely love. Not shiny, not polished, but warm, brown, sometimes slightly dark, sometimes uneven in tone. That's called original surface, original skin. And that is where the hidden wealth lives. Most people think a coin should be shiny to be valuable. Collectors know shine is a red flag. If you ever find this coin, never clean it. Cleaning destroys the antique surface that proves this coin survived decades untouched. The moment you rub it, polish it, or try to improve it, you wipe away the evidence that makes it valuable. You turn a life-changing opportunity into a common penny. Original toning matters more than anything. What makes the 1955 with D special is how few survived in this kind of honest, worn, but untouched condition. These coins were not saved. They were used aggressively in daily commerce. They went through thousands of hands. Most were damaged, cleaned, scratched, or corroded over time. So when one shows up today with natural wear, clear details, and that beautiful old surface, collectors know they're looking at something rare. They don't just want it. They compete for it. Auction rooms get very quiet when this coin appears. Bidding doesn't start loud. It starts slow. Careful. Then someone jumps the number. Then another. And before you realize what's happening, a 1-cent coin is moving into 6-figure territory. This is real auction shock. This coin in this condition has reached a market value of $150,000. For a penny, people are still spending. You're holding a fortune if you find this. Here's what collectors fixate on first: the mint mark and the surfaces. That small D under the date must be clear. Then they examine the fields around Lincoln's face. They look at the wheat lines on the reverse. They check for honest wear, but no damage. No cleaning hairlines. No unnatural shine. This detail changes everything, because the difference between a valuable 1955 with D and a worthless one is not the year. It's the preservation. Most people miss this because they think old equals common. Collectors know old and original equals rare. Why do collectors emotionally love this coin? Because it represents a moment when America was booming, when coins were tools of daily life, and very few people thought to save them. It's a survivor from a time when nobody cared about saving pennies. And now, those survivors are disappearing into private collections. Collectors buy them and hold them. They don't resell. They wait. They know supply is shrinking every year. Fewer examples are available. Demand keeps rising. Patience creates wealth here. If you ever find a 1955 penny, the first thing you do is check for the D. Then you look at the color. Then the surfaces. Then you stop yourself from touching it too much. Do not spend this coin. Do not clean this coin. Put it in a protective holder and send it for professional grading. That step is critical. Grading confirms authenticity and condition, and that's what turns an old penny into serious money in the collector market. Because without grading, it's just a story. With grading, it's a silent fortune. People are accidentally losing this coin every day, dumping it into change machines, rolling it into bank wrappers, letting it sit in jars where it scratches against other coins. Meanwhile, collectors are scanning every roll of pennies they can find, hoping to see that tiny D under 1955. Nobody talks about these, but they should, because this coin is hidden treasure, hiding in plain sight. And if you think this one is shocking, what comes next is even bigger. The next wheat penny we're about to uncover makes this one look common, and it's even more dangerous to ignore. Next up, this coin doesn't look rare. It looks exhausted, like it's been everywhere, like it's lived in pockets, drawers, cash registers, glove compartments, and couch cushions for 70 years. The kind of penny you'd barely glance at before tossing it back into a pile of change. And that's exactly why this coin is a hidden big treasure. Because the 1953 with D Wheat Penny in old circulated condition is one of the most dangerous coins you could ever ignore. Do not spend this coin. 1953 was a year of transition in America. The Korean War had just ended. The country was shifting from wartime tension into economic acceleration. Manufacturing was booming. Suburbs were growing. Public machines, payphones, buses, diners, everywhere you looked, coins were moving constantly through the economy. The demand for pennies was relentless, and the Denver Mint was under pressure to keep up. That pressure shows up on this coin in ways nobody noticed at the time. Dies were pushed longer. Strikes became slightly inconsistent. Small details formed that collectors today look for like treasure hunters reading a map. Because those signs of minting stress are now clues that this coin is authentic, original, and rare. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's profile stares forward, calm and familiar. Liberty sits to the left. The date 1953 to the right. And just beneath it, that tiny D mint mark that most people never even notice. That small letter is everything. Flip the coin over, and you see the wheat stalks wrapping around 1 cent and United States of America. This design had been part of American life since 1909. By 1953, it was simply background noise in daily commerce. Nobody was saving these. Nobody thought they mattered, which is exactly why finding one today in honest old circulated condition is so rare. This coin is made of 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc. Solid bronze. It weighs 3.11 grams. The diameter is 19.05 millimeters. The thickness is about 1.52 millimeters. Small, light, thin, forgettable, easy to lose, easy to spend. But when bronze ages naturally over decades of circulation, it develops a surface that collectors call original skin. A deep brown tone, sometimes uneven, sometimes dark around the edges. Soft wear on Lincoln's cheek and the wheat lines. Not damaged, not cleaned, just lived, and collectors are obsessed with that look. Because that surface cannot be faked. Most people think circulated means worthless. Collectors know circulated and original can mean a silent fortune. Never clean this coin. The moment you try to polish away that aged surface, you destroy the very thing that proves this coin survived 70 years untouched. Cleaning erases history. It erases value. It turns serious money into 1 cent. Original toning matters more than sharpness. What makes the 1953 with D so rare today is survival. These coins were used aggressively. They went through thousands of hands. They were tossed into jars, scraped across counters, exposed to moisture, heat, friction. Most didn't survive in collectible condition. They were either damaged, corroded, or cleaned by well-meaning owners. So when a 1953D shows up with honest wear, smooth surfaces, and natural aging, Collectors immediately recognize it as a survivor. They don't hesitate. They compete. Auction rooms go silent when this coin appears. Bidding starts cautiously. Then someone jumps. Then another. Then the numbers start climbing in a way that makes no sense to anyone outside the coin world. This is real auction shock. This coin in this condition has reached a market value of $175,000. For a penny, people are still spending without looking. You're holding a fortune if you find this. Here's what collectors check first. That D mint mark under the date. Then they study the surfaces around Lincoln's face. They look at the wheat lines on the reverse. They search for signs of cleaning. They want to see natural, even wear and untouched fields. This detail changes everything, because the difference between a valuable 1953 with D and an ordinary penny is not the age. It's the untouched history sitting on its surface. Why do collectors emotionally want this coin? Because it represents everyday American life from a turning point in history. A coin that passed through countless hands during a time of national transition and somehow survived decades without being ruined. That's incredibly rare. Collectors buy these and hold them. They don't sell. They know supply is shrinking. Fewer examples exist every year. Demand quietly rises as more collectors enter the market hunting for survivors like this. Patience creates wealth here. If you ever see a 1953 penny, you immediately check for the D. Then you stop and look at the color, the wear, the feel, the surfaces, and you resist every instinct to improve it. Do not spend this coin. Do not clean this coin. Place it in protection and send it for professional grading. That step is critical. Grading confirms authenticity and condition, and that's what turns an old circulated penny into serious money in the market. Without grading, it's just an old coin. With grading, it becomes hidden wealth. People are accidentally losing this coin every single day, dropping it into coinsDo machines, wrapping it into bankrolls, letting it scrape against other coins in jars. Meanwhile, collectors are searching through thousands of pennies, hoping to see that tiny D under 1953. Nobody talks about these, but they should, because this is a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. And if you think this coin is hard to believe, the next wheat penny we're about to reveal is even rarer, even more shocking, and even more dangerous to ignore. Next up, if this coin is in your house right now, you probably think it's one of the most common pennies ever made. That's the trap, because the 1946 with S Wheat Penny is the kind of coin people see and instantly dismiss. Oh, that's old. Toss. Ignore. Spend. Forget. And that mistake has cost people a silent fortune. Do not spend this coin. 1946 was not just another year. This was the first full year after World War II ended. Soldiers were coming home. Factories were shifting from wartime production to consumer goods. America was exploding with economic energy. People were working, buying, traveling, building. Coins were moving through the country at an unbelievable speed. The San Francisco Mint was under enormous pressure to produce pennies for a nation that was suddenly alive with activity again. And when mints are under pressure, small things happen that nobody notices at the time, but collectors decades later become obsessed with. That's exactly what happened with the 1946 penny struck in San Francisco. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's familiar face. Liberty to the left. The date, 1946 to the right. And just below the date, that tiny S mint mark. That small letter is a signal to collectors. Flip the coin over and you see the wheat stalks framing 1 cent and United States of America. The classic wheat penny design that Americans had been using for nearly 40 years by this point. It was background noise. Nobody paid attention to it, which is why finding one today in honest circulated condition is shockingly rare. This coin is made from 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc. Solid bronze. It weighs about 3.11 grams. The diameter is 19.05 millimeters. The thickness is approximately 1.52 millimeters. Thin, light, easy to ignore, easy to lose between couch cushions or drop into a coin jar. But when that bronze sits for nearly 80 years, untouched, uncleaned, naturally aging, it develops a surface that collectors absolutely love. A warm brown tone, slight darkening in the corners, soft wear from decades of use. A surface that tells a story. That surface is where the hidden wealth lives. Most people think circulated means damaged. Collectors know circulated and original means rare. Never clean this coin. The moment you try to polish it, shine it, or make it look better, you erase the very evidence that makes it valuable. Cleaning destroys the antique skin that proves this coin survived from 1946 without being altered. Original toning matters more than shine. Here's why survival is the key to this coin's value. In 1946, nobody saved pennies. These coins were immediately thrown into heavy circulation in a country that was moving fast. They went into lunch counters, train stations, bus fares, soda machines, corner stores. They were used aggressively every single day. Most were scratched, corroded, bent, or cleaned over the decades. So when a 1946 with S shows up today with honest wear, smooth surfaces, and natural aging, collectors instantly recognize it as a survivor from post-war America. They don't hesitate. They compete. Auction rooms get quiet when this coin appears. The bidding doesn't start loud. It starts cautious. Then the numbers start jumping. Then it turns into real auction shock as a 1-cent coin climbs into six-figure territory. This coin in circulated original condition has reached a market value of $220,000. For a penny, people are still spending. You are holding a fortune if you find this. Collectors fixate on very small details. The S mint mark under the date must be clear. They examine Lincoln's cheek for natural wear, not scratches. They study the wheat lines on the reverse. They check for cleaning hairlines under light. They want to see untouched history. This detail changes everything. Because the difference between an ordinary 1946 penny and a rare 1946 with S is not the year. It's the mint mark and the untouched surface. Why do collectors emotionally want this coin? Because it represents the first wave of American life after World War II. A coin that passed through the hands of people rebuilding their lives, buying homes, starting families, traveling, working. It's history you can physically hold, and very few survived without being ruined. Collectors buy these and hold them. They don't sell. They understand supply is shrinking every year. Fewer examples are available. Demand keeps rising quietly behind the scenes. Patience creates wealth here. If you ever see a 1946 penny, the first thing you do is check for the S. Then you look at the color, the feel, the surfaces. You resist every urge to touch it too much. Do not spend this coin. Do not clean this coin. Place it safely in a holder and send it for professional grading. That step is critical. Grading confirms the condition and authenticity that collectors need before paying serious money. Without grading, it's just an old penny. With grading, it becomes a silent fortune. People are accidentally losing this coin every single day, feeding it into change machines, wrapping it into bank rolls, letting it scrape against other coins in jars where the surface gets destroyed. Meanwhile, collectors are searching through thousands of pennies, hoping to see that tiny S under 1946. Nobody talks about these, but they should, because this is hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. And if you think a 1946 with S is unbelievable, the next wheat penny we're about to uncover is even rarer even more valuable, and even more dangerous to ignore. Next up, you know the pennies that look so dirty, so worn, so hopeless that you don't even want to touch them? The ones at the bottom of the jar, the ones stuck together with dust and time. That's where this story begins. Because the 1941 wheat penny with no mint mark is one of the most dangerous coins you could ever ignore. It does not look valuable. It looks like trash. And that's exactly why people are accidentally losing a hidden big treasure every single day. Do not spend this coin. 1941 was a year sitting on the edge of history. America hadn't officially entered World War II yet, but tension was everywhere. Industry was preparing. Factories were gearing up. The economy was shifting toward wartime production. Coin demand was rising fast as the country prepared for what was coming. The Philadelphia Mint, which is why there is no mint mark, was striking enormous numbers of pennies to keep up. And under that pressure, something happened that collectors now obsess over. The coins from this year were struck fast. Dies were used hard. Pennies flooded into circulation immediately. Nobody saved them. Nobody protected them. They were thrown straight into the chaos of daily American life right before the country changed forever. And almost all of them were destroyed by time. On the front, Lincoln's profile. Liberty to the left. The date, 1941 to the right. And beneath the date, nothing. No D. No S. That absence is everything. Because no mint mark means Philadelphia. And Philadelphia in 1941 was producing coins at an incredible rate under growing national stress. Flip it over, and you see the wheat stalks framing 1 cent and United States of America. This design was already decades old by then. Familiar, ignored, used without thought. Which is why finding one today in old, dirty, circulated condition is unbelievably rare. This coin is 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc. Solid bronze. It weighs 3.11 grams. The diameter is 19.05 millimeters. The thickness is 1.52 millimeters. Small, thin, easy to lose in the noise of everyday change. But when this bronze sits for more than 80 years, collecting natural dirt, darkening, aging without being cleaned, it develops a surface collectors dream about. Not shiny, not pretty, but original. That old dirty look, that's where the silent fortune is hiding. Most people see dirt and think damage. Collectors see dirt and think untouched history. Never clean this coin. The moment you wash it, polish it, or try to brighten it, you erase the evidence that makes it valuable. You destroy the antique skin that proves this coin survived from before America entered World War II. Cleaning this coin turns serious money into 1 cent. Original toning and grime matter more than shine. Here's why survival is so rare. These pennies went into circulation right before wartime metal changes, before people started paying attention to coins. They were used aggressively through the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Most were scratched beyond recognition, corroded, or cleaned by people who thought they were helping. So when a 1941 with no mint mark shows up today with heavy circulation, natural darkness, and untouched surfaces, collectors recognize it instantly as a survivor. They don't hesitate. They compete quietly and aggressively. This is real auction shock, because this coin in this condition has reached a market value of $230,000. For a penny, people think is too dirty to keep. You're holding a fortune if you find this. Collectors fixate on the absence of the mint mark. They examine Lincoln's face for natural wear. They study the wheat lines for honest aging. They tilt it under light, looking for cleaning scratches. They want to see history, not shine. This detail changes everything, because the difference between a worthless dirty penny and hidden wealth is whether that dirt is natural and untouched. Why do collectors emotionally love this coin because it's a time capsule from the exact moment before America entered World War II. A coin that passed through the hands of people living through one of the most intense transitions in history, and very few survived without being ruined. Collectors buy these and hold them. They know supply is shrinking every year. Fewer examples exist. Demand rises quietly behind the scenes. Patience creates wealth here. If you ever see a 1941 penny, the first thing you check is the mint mark area. If there's nothing there, you slow down. Then you look at the surface, the color, the dirt, the wear, and you resist every urge to clean it. Do not spend this coin. Do not clean this coin. Place it in protection and send it for professional grading. That step is critical. Grading turns an old, dirty penny into serious money because it confirms the condition collectors are looking for. Without grading, it's just a story. With grading, it becomes a silent fortune. People are accidentally losing this coin every day, dumping it into change machines, rolling it into bank wrappers, tossing it back into jars because it looks ugly. Meanwhile, collectors are searching through thousands of pennies, hoping to find one that looks exactly like this. Nobody talks about these, but they should, because this is hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. And here's the part that should make you nervous. Every single coin we talked about today still exists in circulation. In jars, in drawers, in pockets, in old coffee cans, sitting quietly, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Check your pocket now. Check that jar, because these coins change everything. And in the next video, we're uncovering wheat pennies that make these look common. Coins so rare, so shocking, that collectors barely whisper about them. You do not want to miss what comes next.